I walked in and I said, what am I talking about today? And it's interesting that that's the question that I pose to myself. Because God does not ask inquiring questions of itself. God simply knows itself. So, not only did our reading speak about inductive reasoning and talk about the reflection and the nature of God, but throughout the weeks that we've been doing our daily reading out of the Science of Mind book, it has opened up a world of parts of God. The subjective mind, the objective mind, the soil, the seed, the thought, the spirit of God, the this, the that. And it's like, whoa, how many parts of God are there really? Like, and which part is operating right now? And the truth is that the infinite spirit, life, this energetic, is simply one. The bottom line always is that it is simply one. However, all the activities of God get to be broken down to small bite-sized pieces so that we might begin to understand the nature of life, the nature of God, the nature of love, the nature of how things operate. Therefore, we have the spirit, the subjective mind, the objective mind, induction, deduction, what this and that and the other thing. And the bottom line in all of it is that there's one power, one presence, one life. And all the activity happens within that one. Within that one life is everything, is every aspect of the stuff that we broke down. The only way that I could really explain it, in maybe a way that is easy for us, is I have one body. Here's my body. I'm somebody. You're somebody. However, this part of our body, the head, is the part that contains the brain and what we think is the mind, but it contains the brain, and it's where the thinking process happens. It's where calculations and deductions and inductions, it's where reasoning happens. But it's still part of the body. There's still only one body. It's just a different section. It's just a different part, and it has a different function compared to the function of the heart, let's say. Where our heart is this muscle that continues to just do this, open and close, and pump blood throughout our system to keep the oxygen and the nutrients and keep things kind of flowing for us. But it's still part of the body. It just has a different function than the head. And the heart can't do what the head does, and the head can't do what the heart does, and one kind of signals the other, and even when something is happening, the signals kind of can go back and forth. But it's still all part of the one. Or kind of like my hands that are responsible for the action or for the touch, or for the ability to pick things up, or to tinker with items, or to write, or to type, or to do whatever it is that the hands can do. Now, my hands are just simply a different part of my body, but it's not the same as my head or my brain or my heart, and it has a different function. And so it is with life, aka God, aka love, is that we break it down just so that we might understand the complexity and the allness of God, yet it is still the one. Yet it is still all one, and there's no real place where you can point to and go, this is where God's life ends and my life begins, or this is where God's mind, the mind of God is, or here's where the subjective, there's no real place to really point to it. But it's just a different aspect. And the life of God has various actions, if you will. And in our reading, Ernest Holmes has a wonderful way of just kind of explaining things, and sometimes they're a little more difficult to understand than others. But simply, what we're going to talk about today is that no matter how we slice it up, it's still one. And the allness of God never questions itself. It never engages in inductive reasoning because it is the truth. It doesn't ask itself about the truth because it is the truth. And sometimes these ideas seem so abstract to me, and I try to make sense of it with our human bodies, with what we have to work with. So show me what you're working with, is what I kind of go. Show me what you're working with. So here's kind of what I get to. God knows itself as truth, as the allness, as the perfection, as the love, as the clarity, as the eternal life, as the allness that it is. And if that's the way that God operates, without questioning itself, oh, am I the truth? Oh, I might not be the truth. Oh, am I love? Oh, I might not be. Oh, but last week, I wasn't very loved. No, God doesn't even engage in anything like that. It just knows itself as truth. It just is. And so how do we get to that place for ourselves? Because God created everything out of itself, therefore our life is the life of God. And week after week, one of the pertinent messages that I like to remind myself of, and I like to remind us in spiritual community about, is that right where you are, God is. There's nothing, no thing that separates your life from the life of God. It is God that is having its being as you, as each of us, as a tree, as the ocean, as a grain of sand. That is the life of God expressing as sand, as a blade of grass, as the ocean, as everything. There is nothing that does not have that life essence, that grand potentiality of God, of life itself. Therefore, how do we get to that place of knowing our life is the life of God without even questioning self? How do we get to that place where we get to live from I know who I am? And here's a great example of that. You're at a movie theater, and it's time for a bio break. You get up out of the seat, you go into the lobby, through the hallways, through the corridors, and there's two signs. One is a male sign, one's a female sign. Which one do you go in? Which one are you going? Female. How about you? You go in the male. There's no question. It's kind of like, oh, I see me. Boom, there I go. I'm going in that one. You don't even question. It's an automatic. You just, that's me right there. Boom. I'm going to go in there. But what if we had the word God outside of both bathrooms? Would you even go in? Would you even consider just walking in? To the degree in which you know who you are and don't question it, that's the degree in which I'm suggesting, strongly, encouraging, moving us toward, shepherding us toward, knowing that when we see the word God, that we know that that is our life, that it is talking about our life, our potentiality, who we are in human form. It got quiet. And I'm wondering if that's because something is clicking. Maybe there's a little logic kind of going on, a little spiritual logic, some inductive thinking or reasoning or some deductive thinking or reasoning. But how is it that you got to the place where you are today, where you just know which restroom to walk into? That you know beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now, sure enough, we all know that there may be some of us, some among us, some in other communities that may not know which one to go in, that may be conflicted, that may kind of struggle. Well, I feel this way, but I'm supposed to go here, and they've been teaching me to go here, but and that's exactly what we are experiencing in human form with respect to recognizing and accepting that we are God. Well, am I? Am I really? I know they told me, but da-da-da. And the only difference between knowing now which restroom to go into is that we have been supported, we have been socialized and trained by our parents, by school teachers, maybe even shamed into going into the appropriate restroom. No, honey, you don't go in the boys' bathroom. You're a girl. Or, oh, the boy was in the girls' bathroom. Oh, you're a girl. You know, and happens. However, we got to where we are right now. It's clear. We don't even think about it. We see little pictures. It doesn't even have to have words. We see pictures and we know where to go. Oh, there's my restroom. There I go. So what does it take to get to that place where it is so indoctrinated, where it is so who we are, that we know beyond the shadow of a doubt that our life is that life of God? And I know you're probably going to go, okay, here's where Reverend Sunshine throws in prayer and meditation. Yeah, we already know that. We come every week. We already know. You're going to throw in prayer and meditation. True enough. So I won't say it. But what got you to the point of knowing which restroom to go into? And then how do we take what already works and use that here so that we might know our life as a life of God? And it dawned on me that sometimes well, not sometimes, but inevitably, our entire society is on board with the two restrooms, male and female, and that's supported. However, society at large is not necessarily on board with, oh, by the way, your life is the life of God. Right where you are, God is. You are a magnificent and beautiful, radiant expression of God. On the contrary, what we hear is, oh, God, please help me. And we're looking out there. Or, who do you think you are? You can't obviously be God. Part the Red Sea, part the rivers, do this, do that. Everything in our society, not everything, but a lot of things in our society, a lot of things in our circles will tell us just the opposite. That we're only human, born to make mistakes. You've seen the Allstate commercial. I'm only human. Right? Everything, not everything, but so much around us is designed to separate our life from the life that God is. And so what we're trying to accomplish here is we're trying to get to a point and a place where regardless of what we're being told, we know the truth of who we are. So we get to be a little more diligent, a little more on purpose. We get to be a little more mindful. We get to pick and choose where we want to hang out on Wednesday nights, where we want to go on Sunday mornings, what kind of classes we want to take, who we want to hang out with, what kind of conversations we want to have, what kind of programming on television or the internet we want to engage in. We get to be a little more mindful and purposeful around the messaging that we allow to permeate our consciousness. So yes, I'm going to always point to prayer and meditation because those are two excellent tools that work, and when we use them on a daily basis, they help us to anchor us in knowing this truth about ourselves. But it's so much more beyond that. It's contemplation. You know, when you're in a car, on a bus, taking a walk, walking your pet, what are you thinking about? What are the thoughts that you're entertaining? Are things always out there, just beyond your reach? Or are you entertaining that my life is the life of God, therefore that which is true of God is true about me? Or are you saying to yourself, I'm always falling short, or, I just need one more $100 and then I could pay that light bill, and it's just so far beyond my reach? Or are we saying my life is abundant? I am so abundant that everything simply flows in such a way that it reflects the God that I am. What are you entertaining? Are we entertaining and spending time watching violence and separation? Are we filling our brains just because I'm tired and I just got home from work and I'm just relaxing, so I'm just going to turn on the TV and let it infiltrate my consciousness with wars and reports of wars and rumors of wars and violence and all kinds of lack and limitations and this and that in one place or another, or this kid missing, or that missing, or that person's doing this or that, or whatever it is. What are we entertaining? Because to the degree in which you are purposeful with knowing that your life is the life of God, then you too participate in the allness, in the oneness that you are. But until that time, then we get to just simply, time to make the donuts. You know, it's just we walking around in mediocrity and walking around pain and suffering because we believe in separation. We believe that God is out there, that our joy is out there, that our peace is out there, that our abundance is out there, that everything is out there, and we're here. And the truth is, there's only one, and it expresses as each and every one of us. So it's all already here. It's all already given. But it's to the degree in which I know that for myself that I get to live that I get to experience that. And I mean, it's cool that, we got friends who are spiritual. Their spirituality is not necessarily going to save us or rub off on us. It's cool to hang out and to know because we're reminded, but we have to have our own practice. We have to have our own path. We can only take each other so far, and then there's that place where I have to know my life is that life of God, is the life of the one. Does that make sense? So, what does it take? What does it take for you? At what point is enough enough? Do you have to have one more heartbreak? Do you have to have, one more disappointment? Do you have to struggle with health and wholeness? What will it take for you to finally take that step and say, yes, yeah, this is my truth, and I'm going to commit to knowing this truth for myself so that I might be free of all discord, that I might be free from this idea of lack and limitation, that I might be free from this idea of otherness or other people, that I might be free from this idea that there's not enough, that I might be free from this idea that I'm not good enough, or that will never happen for me. There's freedom. And if we're willing to take our own path and our own journey of unfoldment, then we can begin to experience a life beyond our wildest dreams. If we're at a place in our spiritual practice where we're kind of stagnant, because it happens, I know it's happened for me. It's kind of like my meditation got dry. My prayer got dry. It's the same old prayer. Like meditate. Okay, it's time to meditate. But it was like eating crackers without having anything to wash it down with. It was like, there was no thrill. It was, it happens. So it's almost like, like a marriage sometimes, it gets a little stale. You need a little spark in the, a little spice. So how is it that we get to spice up our spiritual practice? What are the things that are necessary for us to do? And the truth is that spirit doesn't do inductive reasoning, but we get to do inductive reasoning. What is my truth? How can I begin to really understand my truth? What are the steps necessary for me to really be free in knowing that my life is that life of God? And it may look different for each and every one of us. Some of us may not be able to sit and meditate on a mountaintop. But some of us, it may come in surfing or knitting or some creative expression, that it is through that. Everybody gets to have their own spiritual path. It's not a cookie cutter method for each of us. But there is a process in which you can inquire and ask and receive that which is for you, so that you know your path to your spiritual growth, enrichment, unfoldment, awakening, so that you might know beyond the shadow of a doubt that your life is that life that God is, that there's nothing, no thing that can separate you from the life of God. It's an impossibility. And sometimes the words just don't make it through. Sometimes the words just kind of fall. But when I really begin to grasp that it is an impossibility for my life to be anything other than the life of God, that is powerful. And imagine if I were to just take that and go for a walk with my dog and have that be my practice. For 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just walk. My life, it is an impossibility for my life to be anything outside of or anything less than the life of God. Wow. The things that I can probably think of and contemplate and be with and absorb simply by having that be my practice. And as you begin to inquire, not outside of yourself, not sitting with somebody and going, so what should my spiritual practice be, Rev? No. I can help you in that process. But it's really a process of What is for my highest and best? What is necessary for me to know? What are the things that block me? What are the things that I must open myself up to? What must I embrace in order to know my life as the life of God on a deeper level? What is it that I must release and let go of to know my life as the life of God on a grand scale, in the bigger picture? What are the activities? Who do I need to be with? Who do I get to hang out with? That I might just simply listen or participate in such a way that there's something that's said or that I hear or that I feel that might really open me up to know the truth of who I am. It's a personal thing. And this week, I invite you to know that there's one consciousness, there's one life, and that life is that life that God is, and that life is expressing beautifully and magnificently as you, and you might not even know it. It's you. It's you. So I encourage you this week to ask the question, to take some time, to turn off the electronics and the things of mass distraction, and to be with your great self and ask the question. Ask the questions and be open to receiving the answer. So we're going to do that right now. Then I'm going to invite you to do this over and over and over again this week, that you might begin to really get and really understand that there's only one, and that it knows itself as the allness that it is. And that if we too begin to know ourselves as an expression of this allness, then we are that which it is, and it is that which we are. And there's nothing that can separate us from that. So clear away the things from your lap for a moment as we just enter the silence and the stillness for about 5 minutes. And the simply clearing away is simply your willingness to just let anything that may block you from knowing your truth be out of the way. So whether it's mentally or whether it's physically, just clearing your surroundings and just being in that place of openness. So right now, we're just willing to know our life as the life of God. We keep hearing this over and over again, that my life is the life of God. So right now I'm just sitting down. I'm just here. I'm just standing in this truth and just willing to know that this is my truth on a deeper level. So as I just become quiet and still, as I enter the kingdom of God which is within me, as I tap into that infinite source, that life essence that animates my body, that is perfect, whole, and complete, I simply ask, what is it that I need to know about my spiritual practice, or about an activity, or maybe something that's blocking me, or whatever I need to embrace, that I might know my life as the life of God? Just allowing that consciousness that is within us to reveal to us in a language that we understand that which is necessary to embrace or release, or that which we need to know right now that will catapult us into an activity or a knowing that will bring us closer to knowing our life as the life of God. And so we just be still and be silent, that we might hear with our inner ear that which is exactly and specifically, individually
for us.